first Africans entered into America in 1619 on a Spanish ship to Jamestown. Since then, African Americans have been discriminated against for hundreds of years, some taking a violent turn. The first of these violent actions was the death of Crispus Attucks. He was killed in the Boston Massacre in 1770, an attempt to gain independence from Great Britain. These violent actions continued due to the ratification of the Constitution in 1778, where slavery became even more entrenched into the Constitution, when stating that slaves counted as 3/5 of a person for purposes of taxation and representation in Congress. Treatment towards African Americans did not get any better for the next 100 or so years. The first example of this is on July 27, 1919, when the Chicago race riot broke out over the death of an African American teenager who was drowned in Lake Michigan after an accident of a rock hitting his head by a white person. There were over 100 lynchings of African Americans over the course of 11 years from 1929 to 1940. The Thibodaux Massacre is a massacre of 300 African Americans who were killed by a white paramilitary group. However, things began to change thanks to the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement was an organized effort by African Americans to end racial discrimination and to gain equal rights under the law. The majority of these significant achievements began in the 1960s, the first of these being on February 1st, 1960, when 4 college students in Greensboro, North Carolina, refused to leave a white-only lunch counter before being served. This inspired a series of non-violent sit-ins throughout the nation. On August 20th, 1963, 250,000 people participated in the March on Washington for Freedom and Jobs. MLK gave the closing speech to this march. On July 2nd, 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prevented discriminatory employment. Finally, the Civil Rights Act of 1968, otherwise known as the Fair Housing Act, guaranteed equal housing regardless of race, religion, or ethnicity. It was through these achievements during the Civil Rights Movement that assisted in the nationwide effort to end segregation.